There's not a story that's narrated that doesn't have people in it. So this idea that we're all just separatists, that we're all just stay away from each other, that you'd rather be with a bear than this or whatever, this and that. No, it's togetherness. And it's awkward and it's ugly. And that's what made the music so good. Because we talk about awkward and ugly in music. And it's what makes comedy funny. And it's what makes the melodrama at Manitou Springs great.
Oh, yeah.
Because they still reference things that we're dealing with today, but they just do it in an oleo. And that's pretty cool, I think.
Welcome back to the COS Business Podcast, #1 podcast in Colorado Springs.
Today, our highlighted sponsor is Storybook Destinations. Make sure to check them out if you're looking to book a cruise, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump into it then.
Yeah, we have a very special
played on
guest.
a cruise.
Oh,
This guy's about to get. I can't even introduce him. He's trying to jump in already. We have Papi Sorrels with Acme Event Co. and Acme Dueling Pianos. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man, and bearing with us. We had some schedule mix-ups and everything. We really appreciate you coming in. And we're doing a later night one, but you're used to doing late night shows. 8 o'clock's not very late for you, probably.
Late night's my playground, baby. It's been that way for over 25 years, so that's fine. No, it's really great to be here. I love to see what you guys have been building, man. It's just neat to see all of our friends. You know, I go perusing through the internet. I'm like, Rocky Ross, what are you doing? You know, Craig, what are you doing? Craig Tomanini, what are you doing? Johnny Joy, what are you doing? You know, so it really credit to you guys. I mean, you can't have enough community. And, you know, we could talk about that a little later. That was one of the things I did with the music was set up something called 719 Co. And so you're talking about a lot of community stuff, you know, people and Rocky and me and the Greg Howards. I think you're going to be having
Brother Luck.
Brother Luck. I didn't know if I should say it, but then I realized you could have edited it. So,
Well, if he doesn't show on, then that's noted on record. So
yeah, brother, you better be here, man. Okay.
No.
And by the way, it's not the Cybertech building, just so you know.
Yeah, we had a mix up right before you came in here. We share a space with the National Cybersecurity Building. So Pappy came into the wrong side, walked through some classified areas and made his way over here. So thank you so much for coming.
I like the dark hallways, man. I didn't know if I was going to a podcast or Fight Club. But I wouldn't have talked about it either way.
Yeah.
Again, man, let's start from the beginning because you were talking and you're mentioning folks who have been here for a very long time in this community. You are like a cornerstone in this community. Well, let's start from the very beginning of your story. How did you get into everything that you're doing in the entertainment business? And talk a little bit more about Acme more specifically as well.
Yeah, you know, we came here. I was originally in Oklahoma, and my father was dedicated to a preacher who thought the end times were coming. And he wanted everybody from around the country to come to Colorado Springs to prepare for the end times. And this is no joke. This is how the story starts. And needless to say, the end times didn't come. And I just wasn't digging on that. And at that time, with everything going on, there was just something in me, like creatively, that I really wanted. And it's tough when you go through a lot of those things. I think when you go through certain traumas that came with all that, which that's for another, time. But creativity releases so much, especially when you're going through high school. You feel awkward. At that time, I was from Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So I had an accent. I still got the boots and everything else, but my pop had me take classes to lose the accent. So I had to take classes because at that time, and even today, there's still a little bit of prejudice against anybody with a Southern accent in certain job markets and things.
Yeah.
You'll see it. It's not everywhere, but he was worried about that. I'm the first one born here in the United States because, my mother's Ukrainian, came here. So I read it, speak it, write it. So growing up in Oklahoma, I almost didn't pass kindergarten because I was having problems with the English because I was speaking so much Ukrainian. So what a way to start your life that you can't even pass finger painting class, Well,
we'll talk about culture shock. You talk about your mother was Ukrainian and she moved to Oklahoma.
Yeah. So the oil business, it's all about, it was all about the oil there. My father got with a physicist there that Oil had been held, and promise, folks, we're going to get to the entertainment part soon.
This is
But the oil was held in metal barrels, and the problem was it was leaking in the crops. So my father got with a physicist at Oklahoma State University. Boomer Sooner, though. Boomer Sooner. I'm not a Cowboys fan, but
unfortunately,
they figured out. Are you really? It's very unfortunate.
Yeah,
We're going to take a moment of silence, folks. We'll be right back after these messages and a word from Dak Prescott.
It's a bad decade, yeah.
Storybook Destinations. Storybook Destinations makes planning your magical Disney vacation effortless. From Disney cruises to Disneyland and beyond, they handle all the details so you can focus on the fun. Visit StorybookDestinations.com to start your adventure. That's StorybookDestinations.com.
Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care. Skip the healthcare hassle with Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care. Direct primary care for a simple monthly fee, putting health first. No insurance needed. Experience personalized care that's as unique as every individual. Visit PinnacleAPC.com to learn more. That's PinnacleAPC.com. Franchise succeed.
Grow any business with Franchise Succeed. From development to expansion, turning small businesses into national brands through franchising. Start scaling up with a free consultation at franchisesucceed.com today. That's franchisesucceed.com.
Planet Duct. Breathe easier with Planet Duct, Colorado Springs' premier air duct cleaning service. Powerful vacuum trucks rid homes of allergens and dust. Clear the air by visiting planetduct.com. That's planetduct.com.
Epic Eyewear. Elevate style with Epic Eyewear. Innovative designs meet unmatched quality, ensuring a great look and better vision. Discover your next pair of shades at epiceyewear.com. That's epiceyewear.com, spelled EPOCH eyewear.com.
And we're running a special discount right now, Andrew. It's COSBP 15 for 15% off your
15% off your freaking order at epiceyewear.com. We're wearing the sunglasses right now. If you're watching, listening on the audio, definitely check out the video so you can see and check out how epic they are. EPOCH
eyewear.com.
Eyewear.com.
Awesome Home Services. Awesome Home Services provides reliable electrical, plumbing, and HVAC services in Colorado Springs and surrounding areas. Whether you need emergency repairs for routine maintenance, they're available 24/7 to keep your home running smoothly. Visit awesomeservice.com. That's awesomeservice.com. Or give them a call at 719-370-0911 to schedule your service today. Now we will get back to this episode.
So he got with them and they figured out fiberglass tanks. Fiberglass would hold the oil more, and they gave it a gel coat woven rubber because my pop wanted it to be shiny. So instead of digging down on the ground from the crops, he was trying to figure out a way to put it up on top. And he did, and he made them pretty, and they were gorgeous. Unfortunately, in about 81 to 83, it was really about 79 to 81, the oil market just went and hit the skids. It was bad. That was kind of between Carter and Reagan as far as recent presidential talks, but that was back in the Carter-Reagan era. So we moved to Colorado Springs, and I went to Emerson Junior High. And when I went there, the kid that got the first ever Emerson Award developed a pipe bomb and blew up the English department area, which was where I was at. And so while we were reading, this is while we were
Oklahoma's
reading,
famous for bombings, actually.
Well, I got to tell you, this would follow my story. Like, it's weird. So that happens, and that goes on there. And then I always make the joke that they shut down Emerson after a while there. And then I went to Wasson High School and they shut that down. So I don't know if it was me, but I may have shut down some of the schooling systems here in Colorado Springs. We don't have all the data, but it's leaning that way.
You were a shockwave.
I was a shockwave. I was an Oklahoma tornado coming in. But yeah, so it really started with stand-up comedy. I was so angry. I was writing with my words, and I had a wonderful English teacher, Miss Cook. And I was in honors English, super honors history, I guess we can't cuss on here. Ding dong math and ding dong science and stuff like that. I didn't care about it. But boy, English and history, I did. He put those two together, and you're reading these historical stories of Constantinople and elephants being taken over a pass to catch up with this army, and that started getting things going. And I went and Jed Hafer, who's a guy you definitely should have on here. He's done a lot. Jed Hafer and Chris Moss from Colorado Springs, who he ended up leaving. He ended up on Hawaii Five-0 and Magnum PI from Colorado Springs.
That's cool.
Yeah, our little group, we were part of Jeff Valdez's comedy club. Jeff Valdez, who he also went on to great things. It was a big group of people in the late 80s, early 90s that really went on to some things from Colorado Springs, but got into stand-up comedy and found a love for it. And it was weird because I cuss like a sailor offline, as you can see. But on stage, I had learned early on, like, if you can be clean on stage, you can get booked anywhere. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, there would be a transformation when I'd go on stage. And all that anger would leave me. And I would just talk about it. But then as I would talk about certain subjects, people would laugh. And I'm like, well, that feels good. You don't feel good about something and you're going to laugh with me? Well, that's nice. So I got addicted to that. Within 2 months, I had my first gig in Albuquerque, New Mexico at a Ramada Inn. And as an opener, made $75. You heard that right. And but at that time, I was in the pool. And I remember being in the pool and like, so we're just swimming today? And then we go on stage and they'll pay us.
Yeah.
And this is a life that one can have? Well, I got to tell you, I haven't been too happy with life up to this point. But swimming pools, I'm in.
Yeah.
And man, it just became a thing. Like later, there'd be a movie called Tombstone with Kurt Russell. And they say a line in there that I had already been saying. And that's one reason I love the movie. But I wanted to spend the rest of my life living on room service.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when the bug hit. And so that developed the stand-up comedy stuff. It drove through every type of weather you could imagine. Snowstorms, edges of tornadoes, you know, all those things. And I got to stay in some of the worst motels in the country. And so it's a badge of honor. I think that's a cool thing. But that just really started developing the understanding of the audience and really getting to understand like rhythm and rhyme of everything. It's where I first started learning fundamentals that I would later take to dueling pianos, like the pyramid, utilizing the pyramid philosophy, which was when you're entertaining, utilizing, making a relationship with this table, making a relationship with this table, and making a relationship with the table back there. Because a lot of people are nervous to laugh. Mm-hmm. So if you create a little camaraderie, and while you're talking to this table, you can talk to that table a little bit, and you're talking to this table, you talk to that table. Next thing you know, you're taking over the crowd. And now they're on your side. So I started learning from some really wonderful people, which would be the story of my life, is everything that I'd ever get credit for was a collection of some really, really great people. And even when we get to the dueling piano part of this story, I've always told people, you know, I get compliments on the show because I put a lot of work into it. But I always tell people every time I say, I'm a collection of 77 of the greatest dueling piano players in the world. And I really believe that. I really believe that. They shape everything. And that's probably the biggest thing I ended up starting to love about life and switching around in my head, going like, okay, I was angry to start, but I feel like everybody's playing a little role in the next part of my life. I started thinking of it like Super Mario Brothers. You know, you're going through here and you got some Koopa Troopa coming and this is coming over here, but there's flowers that pop up, little money bricks you can go get, you know, mm-hmm. And it started being like, you know, that and like Zelda, like all those 80s games I loved.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I'm on the adventure, Final Fantasy, Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and I'm going to meet some people on the way. That's the one I'd say is probably most like Zelda. What's you guys' favorite old school video game?
Zelda. Well, I liked Ocarina of Time. That's 90s style, man. Oh, yeah.
That's the one, dog. That's it right
go.
there, boy.
Let's go. First free roam, man.
I would say, if I'm going to say old school 80s, it would be Mario. I just replayed all the old Mario games.
But which Mario? This is important.
This is important.
Because there's one where he gets wings like he was sponsored.
That's 3, right?
3?
Yeah,
Now your generation really identified with that a lot.
But I was going to say, if I was going to say something for my generation, it would be Pokemon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do they have a Pokemon game? Well, you had the cards.
Well, we had the cards, but we also had the Game Boy. So it's like playing on the Game Boy.
That's right. You did. That's right.
Yeah.
See, I was still stuck on Tetris, you know. That's why I'm a great, you know, all musicians, we're the greatest packers ever. If you don't know how to load up your truck, call a musician friend. Just have them come over and say, how would you do
No,
this?
that's true. Yeah.
I need everything, and it's got to fit in this.
Mostly drummers, though, specifically.
Drummers really, really do it well. I've been blessed to be around some drummers that I would imagine their Tetris scores are really high.
Yeah.
But yeah, that started the comedy thing. We did the Looney's Comedy Club here.
Oh, very cool.
Larry Lee owned it. He's passed away now, and that becomes a part of your story as you keep going further and further in life and further in your career. You don't finish with the same people you started with. You know,
now a guy named Eric owns it, right?
Eric was Lauren's friend.
Okay.
So Lauren had it, and then Eric got it. Yeah, so Eric's got that now, and it's great that he's kept it going.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's crazy. That was the theater. You know, it's the movie theater.
Straight off Academy too, and like just in a weird spot for me personally.
Well, that area was just so vibrant then.
Okay, that actually makes sense. That makes sense.
Oh yeah, I mean that Colorado Springs, like Briargate, was a new thing.
Yeah,
you know, you got to realize nothing was on Powers except for Frankie's.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they call it the country club of Colorado Springs. You know, but that was that is really a true story. Matter of fact, Powers around Sand Creek. We'd go take our motorcycles and Jeeps. I mean, with all that creek area, we'd go mudding.
Nice. Okay.
And things like that. It was until they brought in all these chain restaurants. You know?
Oh, yeah.
But no, it was fun. We actually, Colorado Springs was a whole different vibe then. Because that's where you get the generational gaps. Because for Gen Xers who get mixed in with boomers too much, and millennials who get mixed in with Generation Z too much, the early millennials and Gen X, we were mudding and jeeping all along here. We had almost all the restaurants here were like locally owned. And that's where that seed started getting planted. You had the Hungry Farmer, you had Conway's Red Top, you had the Colorado Springs Water Slide, which was, right at Garden of the Gods and I-25. You had the ski slope that was the Broadmoor.
Yeah, and it's like there's remnants of it if you look at the mountain.
Oh, I skied on it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
nice.
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that was, I don't know if it was called skiing, but there were sticks that I was on that headed down a mountain and had me lodged into them. But, but that for me plays a part, I think, later in that was during a time too where, in Colorado Springs, you had the Reagan era. And so you had all the money was coming back finally. And then and then all the stuff then musically started coming, and that inspired me. Like they got these artists together and like a lot. And they said, let's all get in a room and let's sing a song. And it became We Are the World. And what was crazy when I was a kid, I still remember being in school and at 9 a.m. across the United States, they played it at the same time. Well, imagine that kind of messaging today if we could do something like that, like tell a good joke or sing a good song at 9 a.m., all of us together. Then you had Willie Nelson and the boys with the Farm Aid. You had Live Aid. It just, everything, everywhere you turned, everything was community, a locally owned this, Tejon, completely different Tejon. Everything there. There was, like your big thing was J.C. Penney. That was right there on Tejon, where you'd probably have like Bingo Burger and all that stuff there.
I didn't know. Okay.
So you had J.C. Penney there and stuff like that. And so, but a lot of mom and pop shops, the old Zizos.
Oh yeah, Zizos.
And that was back at a time when people actually knew what the Antlers was. Today, I'll tell people, I'm doing a show at the Antlers. They're like, what's that?
Yeah.
I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Like it's the oldest that's been burned down twice. Okay, cool.
I love local history, so I know I don't fall in that camp. So I instantly knew what the Antlers was when I came here. So.
Yeah. And it's really neat. Like, when you go to UCCS now, my goodness, how much, and we're in one of their buildings. How much has that changed?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that was just like a little nugget on a hill.
Yeah.
And what it's become now, all those sculptures that you see out there.
Insane.
That was, what was his name? Von Schempkamp or something like that. But all those sculptures you see here was at his house in the Broadmoor. So that used to be a thing we did on a Sunday. You'd go to, Peoples or Perkins or, you go do your thing. And, then you'd go to the Broadmoor and drive around and he'd have all those statues there.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then, like at Fillmore, we used to have the little house that was there that had the ponies, and they would paint the house with the saying. And that's when things started changing. Then all of a sudden, they didn't want no sayings on the house no more. The statues were getting in the way of everybody else's view. And then you started seeing this next evolution of Colorado Springs.
What year is this, would you say roughly?
You're probably looking at about 91 to 95.
Mm-hmm.
You start seeing this next stage of Colorado Springs, and that was when the innocence started leaving. But unique things started happening along. You got to realize, like through all the 80s, we had like one mayor. It was Bob Isaac.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And, a lot of people don't know. You'll drive and not even know what you're driving on.
Mm-hmm.
People take Milton Proby exit.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll just go, Milton Proby.
Yeah.
Nobody thinks twice that that's like a huge civil rights leader.
Mark Dabbling, he was an officer who got killed on
That's
duty
right.
in
That's
like
right.
the 80s or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, it was a wild time. And, we used to cruise the Ave. I was like, we just get this for a good time, fellas. We're going to take the car and start on one side of the street and go to the other. And when we're done, we're going to go back. Okay, ready? Let's go. So
We like to take a quick moment and thank our sponsors.
Celebrity DJ. Celebrity DJ, where you get your events your way. Weddings, corporate events, and more. Let Celebrity DJ be your director of fun. Winner of WeddingWire.com's Couple Choice Award year after year with over 100 5-star reviews. Let Celebrity DJ bring your vision for your special event to life. Online at celebrity-dj.com.
That's celebrity-dj.com.
Home Day.
Enhance your company's benefit package with Home Day. Home Day offers innovative real estate solutions that make home ownership simpler and more accessible for your employees. Discover how Home Day can add value to your benefits program at gethomeday.com.
Neon Pig Creative. Bring brands to life with Neon Pig Creative. Dazzling designs and strategic marketing make businesses stand out. Spark creativity at neonpigcreative.com. That's neonpigcreative.com.
Exponential Impact. Fuel startup success with Exponential Impact. Mentorship, resources, and support available to amplify impact. Join a community of change makers at exponentialimpact.com.
That's exponentialimpact.com.
Fast Signs.
Fast Signs can help you with all your signage and visual marketing needs. Whether you're starting a new business or just need a signage refresh, let Fast Signs help you. Make your statement. That's fastsigns.com. Cars Helping Charities.
Cars Helping Charities is a turnkey fundraising solution for nonprofits. Cars Helping Charities allows your nonprofit to accept vehicle donations, which are sold, and then the funds go to the organization. CHC is partnering with my nonprofit of choice, Mattersville, to help them raise funds through vehicle donations. Please consider donating your car to support Mattersville. CHC will pick up any car, an old clunker you have sitting in your driveway, or a car you just don't feel like selling anymore. Make sure to visit carshelpingcharities.org. That's carshelpingcharities.org. Dream Accounting Solutions. Dream Accounting Solutions provides expert outsource accounting and CFO services to include bookkeeping, payroll, and financial consulting to help you take control of your business finances.
Whether you're a small business or an entrepreneur, their tailored services keep your finances in check. Visit dreamaccountingsolutions.com to schedule your consultation and simplify your financial future. Now let's get back to the show.
But it used to be great, man. We used to, just pick up on, gals, listen to great music. Everybody took turns getting in a fight at Jack in the Box. It was just kind of rite of passage. Like, all right, Pap, it's your turn. All right. Oh, man.
Simpler times then, huh?
But, it was fun. It was. And then when you get to the 90s, things started changing. And where it started changing, too, big was the music. You started getting this sound out of Seattle that was like, and hip hop was really getting smart. Like, it wasn't just beats. It was like really intelligent. Like, this guy Tupac was like really spitting some stuff. And then there was this other guy. There was this other guy, Biggie Smalls, that he was doing some stuff. Then you had De La Soul. You had Tribe Called Quest. Really intelligent. Now, that's more my style, by the way.
I love Tribe Called Quest.
Tribe it, on point tip, all the time vibe.
Yeah.
But where that plays a role is I started getting re-immersed in the music because I was a late bloomer with stuff because the way the crazy things that happened with the church. You can imagine a church that thought the end times were coming wasn't letting us listen to much pop culture.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 24 before I knew who Hulk Hogan was, and he had already been around since the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a time where this Pearl Jam people and this Chris Cornell in there, and then this, floppy haired kid, Kurt Cobain. And, I know it sounds like I'm talking like over you. Like, I don't mean it like that, but I'm just trying to place you in the context of what it felt like. It's
For
like,
sure.
whoa. And in that moment, and that was a unique time in Colorado Springs, because in that moment, you also had country music doing its thing.
Mm-hmm.
This Billy Ray Cyrus goofball was coming out, and the girls, hey, you break your heart.
Yeah.
But it was going to be your last time with hard rock, headbanger music, country, rap, hip hop, Mary J. Blige, all this. So in Colorado Springs, this is where the point that I'd like to make is that you had this perfect mix of like cowboys, hip hop, urban culture, headbanger, long haired. I mean, at that time in Colorado Springs, if you didn't have somebody from every piece of everything, that was weird. I mean, it was really weird. And excuse me. But the one thing that you would have is these different music venues. And the biggest one was the Gardens. The Gardens, which was on off of Shelton. And we'd go underage, of course. That's how you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the greatest just stuff was in there, and Itis came from that. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Itis, but Itis is a super popular band that came from the Springs. And that was where that came from, was in the Gardens. And you started seeing more dedication. So they took the Opry House, which is now Stargazers.
Mm-hmm.
So they took the movie theater and turned it into the Opry House. So that started getting in music. Well, then they get this Pikes Peak Center built. And so all this is happening right around this time. So you're just inundated with it. And by that time I was married, and I had my first 2 kids, and my ex-wife at the time, my ex-wife at the time was, you can't do this comedy anymore. You can't. You got to stop. I don't know what you guys are into, but if you're into something a lot and they tell you to stop it, I don't know if you've ever faced that yet in your life, but it doesn't go over well.
Yeah.
Because a dude won't.
Yeah.
But
Clip that. No,
yeah, well, and that's
quote that.
That's the thing, is that I came home and I knew she was unhappy. So I went to go see my friend, which was Chuck Schaefer, who his uncle is Sam Guadagnoli and Kathy Guadagnoli, and they own this place on Tejon Street that they took over. And what a lot of people don't know is today they call it the Mansion. Did you know that where the Mansion is, you want to talk music? Get ready, kids. We're strapping in for some history. The Mansion was at one point a Heritage Center opera house, one of the best opera houses in the world. And it got bought out by a banker, and they ripped it out. So that whole area that you see there was one of the greatest opera houses of the world.
What?
People don't even know that.
Wow. Our old office was
same thing with Fannie Mae.
Our old office was at the Sanders
law firm
building right across the street.
Is that right?
That's where we filmed the podcast for a couple years.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I went to go see Chuck. He said, "You got to come see me. I got this thing going. You got to come see me. Pappy, I'm so glad you're back in town." All right, man, sure. And I'm thinking like, man, I ain't gonna be no bartender, man. I got to figure something out. But if I can't do comedy, I'm going to do something.
Why did she say that you can't do comedy? Because it wasn't paying the bills? Or?
In all fairness, well, no. I'm not going to say we were, the 401k was stuffed or anything. But, I mean, rents were paid and everything like that. But listen, in all fairness, when you decide to be an entertainer and then have kids after, it's rather unfair to the lady.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest.
Yeah.
She's holding down the fort and you're kind of going off playing Peter Pan, even though you're working, even though you're writing in a notebook. And I to this day, I still, every hotel I go to, because I still tour with the dueling pianos, but to this day, I don't leave a hotel room without taking the pen and the notebook. To this day, I still take it. And I have in my left drawer tons of notebooks, and I'll just write notes in there. Just some of that old stand-up comedy stays in there. But in all fairness, I think if you're going to go after something like that, do it when you're single. Just do it. You're going to be broke. You're going to be hungry. That's going to drive you. And somewhere, if you got it, it's going to click together. But so it became a thing where, hey, look, help me here. And it makes sense. So I went and saw him, and he says, dueling pianos. And I'm like, English? What is, you got, it's like a fight night or something, or what's going on? No, dueling pianos, man. Dueling pianos. You should come see it, man. And I was like, okay. So I go and I see these two pianos. It's at Tejon Street. The mansion was once Rumbay. I think you know that.
Yeah.
So then they had the two grand pianos on there, and they had the guy singing, and there was a drum set in the middle, and I'm going like, oh my God, what in the world? And he's singing, and this one's over here singing, and this one makes a joke about something, and this one's singing again, makes a joke about something, and this one, then they get on the band, all three of them get on there, and I'm like, what in the world?
This is also news to me, by the way. I don't know what dueling pianos specifically is. I didn't know there was comedy involved.
I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to find out together.
Yeah.
Stay tuned, children. Okay. So the concept real quick for you, would you mind if I?
Yeah, no, you're telling us both a little bit. Yeah.
So back in the old days, real quick, dueling piano started in New Orleans. What had happened was it was at a place called Pat O'Brien's. And at Pat O'Brien's, there was two ladies and this gentleman that would sing these songs. Similar probably to what you'd see at a Golden Bee, the Broadmoor and things like that. So singing all these songs. Well, he gets in a contract dispute with the owner. So he says, I'm out. I'm leaving. I'm out. You got to pay me more money. And so the owner talks to the two gals and he's like, can you at least play the songs? I don't know what to do. And then they say, well, sure. I mean, we can sing them too if you want. And so the two ladies go and they start singing. Well, they had a fella in the audience that was always helping around. And no joke, and this is where the Bob Dylan thing comes from, but his name was Mr. Bojangles. And he literally would dance around and do these things. And so he really wanted to be a part. And so he was trying to help. And so the guy was there was a stage right here, and then you had two pianos right here. And he's on the stage singing, hello, my baby, hello, my darling, hello, my ragtime guy, all this stuff. They would just play. And so he would have these noisemakers that would make noises to keep the rhythm going. So it was like not boring. So Mr. Bojangles gets a waiter's tray, puts copper plate on it, puts pennies on it, wears thimbles, wears tap shoes. And some of this stuff is what's located inside Bob Dylan's song about Mr. Bojangles. So when you re-reference that after this, go check that out.
Yeah.
So he's playing. Well, the girls just ended up singing. And so everybody just started handing the request up. And the next thing you know, Dueling Pianos is born. So they just would come in. People say, ask requests of the books, of the songs. So Dueling Pianos was started by two women. A lot of people don't know that. And so later in the 80s, they had been around for a while and it was getting a little just old, stale. Camptown races, this and that. So in the 80s, there was an area in Texas called Dallas Alley. And this guy named Spencer Taylor, who I ended up working for, by the way, he created the first United States dueling pianos. What he did was he took musicians and got them together and said, hey, you play the songs. How many songs do you know? How many songs do you know? Okay. Well, we'll just do a thing with the crowd and we'll see what happens. So they started throwing requests. Do you know this? Do you know this? Do you know this? So they started playing. At that time, imagine what the popular music then was.
Right.
Don't Stop Believing, Sweet Caroline, Piano Man. And those would later become the standards that we have today. I play them all the time. All the time. All the time. So when that happened, this is so great. a group from Australia saw the people playing dueling pianos. And they said, "Hi, mate, this is good, mate. You go come over, whatever, you know, and this is the world's worst Australian accent." But yeah, like, you come over here and we're going to have the party over here, you know, whatever. And so they fly the guys out there to Melbourne. And they know
Melbourne.
Yeah, that place too. And then, but they go to this pub and they notice something interesting. The rugby players, when one set would lose and the other one would win, the rugby player would come in that lost, the captain, and the winning captain would take his boot off and they'd fill it with beer, and the losing team had to drink out of that boot.
I seen someone do that recently on stage.
I think that's just the times we're in.
Okay.
But no.
It was nasty. Someone threw a shoe and he drank out of it.
Well, that would come back to America where they drink out of the yard of beer in the boot and stuff like that. They actually do that in Germany a lot too.
Yeah.
Europeans, they have fun in a different way. I learned that when I started traveling. But what ended up happening was they saw the loser get up on the table and the winning team would stand around them and start singing these songs. Now, I'll do this as clean as I can, and we'll just do it last way. But they would sing, they took our songs and it'd be like, "He was afraid to come out of the water. He was afraid everybody would stare. 'Cause poor so-and-so didn't have much to start with, and the cold water sort of made it disappear. He's got an itsy-bitsy teeny-weeny little..." That started the dueling piano thing. And what happened was that started being the rub stuff that we did. Those guys come back and put it in the show. So now you get a birthday, you come up, it's called a call down now. So when you're at dueling pianos and you see somebody doing, we call it a call down. So what we do is we do a roast. Like you guys have seen that stuff.
That's awesome.
Like the Bieber roast and stuff, you know, but we started that.
Okay.
We started that whole thing. And so putting all those things together, that started formulating your dueling piano stuff. And then Howl of the Moon was born from that. And then then the formulas started coming in. Then the Pete's Dueling Piano Bars started coming in. So meanwhile, in Colorado Springs, I'm sitting there playing, doing these things, learning this stuff. And it gets to a point where, you know, it's tough because I'm playing, I'm doing everything. I lost the comedy money. So I'm working at Antlers doing dishwashing to get that money. Then I had to leave. Then I had to go rehearse for 2 hours or so. Then I'd have to go play the dueling pianos till 11. And then I got my job with KVU 99.9. I started doing overnights. So when I was doing the overnights, the one thing I did, I knew that if I did everything my boss had told me, that would take me nowhere. I knew that was the most boring route to do anything. So on the overnights, I started finding people's luggage. I started scraping the songs and I started doing like more talk show stuff because nobody back then, they weren't even listening. They didn't used to do air checks at KVU where they would check what the DJ was doing overnight because they thought the guys were sleeping. I was turning it into my own show.
Nice.
So I'm writing stuff. I'm trying out stuff. And so I got fired. And, but what ended up happening, this is a funny story. I think you guys will like this. My brother's walking down Tejon and he sees the program manager. Says, "Hey, my brother, like, when's he going to be on a morning show?" And the guy, "Hey, look, that takes forever. That takes a lot of years." And my brother, this is the way my brother tells me the story, he says, "Apparently you don't know my brother." And what would end up be funny happening is 2 years later, I ended up in a competition. I was drunk off my gourd playing piano one night back when I used to drink. And up there at the Marriott in Denver, they were having a competition for the Fox Sports Dream Job competition. So all my buddies, including the bar owners, said, "Hey, get him in a van. Let's get him up there and do this." So they loaded up the van with some beers and stuff. We headed up to Denver. I come into the Marriott just wasted. I am outside my body right now. And I'm just like, oh man, it's daytime. The sun's cooking in. I was still wearing a nice sports coat and stuff like that because I was playing piano. And but I get there and it's just a cattle call of everything. And they were sitting over into this room, sitting over to this room, sitting over to this room. And they would take us into rooms and there'd be like rooms like kind of like this, where there'd be a microphone like this. There'd be a bowl right here covering something. And there'd be a camera. And there'd be lines of tables like that with cameras. Dig, 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 dig. So you had to open up the bowl and look into the camera, and you had to do 2 minutes on what was in the bowl and relate it to sports. So they had paper clips, peanuts. And see, the neat thing was, learning things on the fly, which is, by the way, the biggest part I skipped in pianos. What am I thinking? Real quick, the neat part of the story with the pianos, I didn't know how to play piano. So I lied to Chuck and Sam and Kathy and told them I knew how to play. Now, what I did know how to do was sing, and I had screwed around with drums a little bit. So I went home and learned piano in 30 days. I spent 12 to 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, 4 weeks straight.
Gosh.
All I drank was Purple Source Rex Kool-Aid.
Nice.
And then I told my wife at the time, at that time, my favorite sandwich was, I'd like to go back to it every day. And it's really not good for you, but Ukrainians we have brown schwager. And so I loved brown schwager with rye bread and lettuce and tomato, and then that Miracle Whip, not that Hellman stuff. And that's all I ate. I just that. And I would take one little break to teach my kid how to walk. And so I'd be walking with Alex, like, all right, what they should do, but look at Kozaki,
Nice.
It's like, come here, come on, my big warrior. That's what that is in Ukrainian. But
Nice.
so 30 days, and I learned 12 songs, but only 8 of them were worth anything. So I get to Rumbay, and the entertainment director, Jim Fontana, we start playing. And in those days, we didn't have electric pianos. We had the regular, real deal grand pianos.
Oh, boy.
So I had to fake how I played, or else the wrong notes would hit, because I didn't know how to play the other songs that were being played. So I had to learn how to slide my fingers on the piano to make it look like I was hitting keys, but I wasn't really hitting keys. And I would sing my little 8 songs. And then the next hour would come, and I'd sing my 8 songs. And he's like, he's mad. So he takes me back in the back, and he's angry. He's like, I can't believe this. I told him I want a dueling piano player, and they gave me you and this and that. Now, I've been a nice guy up until this point.
Yeah.
But there's another side to me. I don't know if you can tell. But I was like, hold on, bud. I said, listen, we're both in a situation. You need another piano player, and I need this job really bad. I was able to keep the job because I knew that he had a vial of cocaine on him, and I knew that was against what was in the contract. So I said, I won't say anything about that. And you give me a chance. And all I'm saying is give me a chance. Tell me what you want. And if I don't hit the mark, then fair game. So he said, you got to learn 100 songs in 90 days. And so I went back home, more brown schwager. I think that's why I don't eat brown schwager anymore.
Yeah.
But more Kool-Aid, more teaching my kid how to walk, which by that time he's pole vaulting. But did it. I pulled it off. I got to keep it. And then they turned in their attitude because they really appreciated that hard work. They really appreciated that. Like,
How did you learn without YouTube?
I love how seriously you asked that just now. I love how you're like, I don't get it. So they literally used to say, you got to listen to the record. But at that time, it was true. So one of the things that had to happen was, number one, they had these things called fake books. Are you familiar with that? So they have the songs in it, the lyrics are in it, but they just have little bits of the chords, so like guitar chords.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to piece it together from there. So you'd listen to the song, and you'd hear it, and you find it on the piano. So the first thing I had to do is I went to Walmart, and I got one of those. They had a poster back then that showed all the chords on the piano. They would do it for guitar and stuff, I got one, best $1.99 I ever spent.
Those are great.
It was between that and the Ellen McPherson poster. And I oh man, it was tough. But, so I got both. But we had and so I'd look at the chords, I'd see what they were in the song. And I didn't know the songs, You shake my nerves and you rattle my brain. And you're doing it slow, and you're like, and you're trying to get all this stuff going.
Yeah.
But I like your question because it was without YouTube. I really had to listen. I had to research. I had to study. I had to write the lyrics down because we didn't have iPhones. I'll be honest with you. Even the laptops weren't that impressive then. So we had to write the lyrics down, and I would write them over and over again just to get them back and memorize the song that way. And that's how you had to piece songs together. So I had to listen, sit there and play. But what ended up happening is it started getting mathematical. in time, you started seeing an algorithm, just like you do with computers and everything like that. You're like, well, wait a minute. Those 3 keys seem to do this, and they're going to do that everywhere on this piano. And these keys go everywhere else on this piano.
What year is this, by the way?
95, I'm guessing.
This is about 95. Yeah. It's about 95. Yeah. And so then you used to go, this song does this too. So if you learn C, F, and G, you shake my nerves and you rattle my brain. You kind of lose. Bob Moran does that. Tutti Frutti does that. Don't Be Cruel does that. Oh, but there's a little D minor. So along the way, you pick up D minor and you say, hey, come on, D minor. We're going to add ourselves to this repertoire. D minor's like, awesome. Can I bring my friend E minor? And E minor's like, yes, I didn't think I was going to get picked at all. And so E minor's there. And then the flats come in, right? A flat, B flat. Then there's the spooky flats like B flat suspended. And then he has a fuller flat friend, which is the 7th. So B flat suspended 7th comes in and they're like, hey, we could actually sound like we know what we're doing if you hit all these. And then that just kept happening. And it came to you. Whereas like, boom. But remember what I said at the beginning. I don't know if we said it on tape or when we were getting to know each other, but those people that were there, they guide you. They help you. Hey, you know what you can do? Your Johnny Be Good can go like this. And then you walk up like this and it'll sound cooler. Hey, you know what you can do with that Tainted Love song? Just go to your dashboard in your car. Do, 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 do. You don't even need the piano, buddy. Just do it. Little Miyagi, Karate Kid, Cobra Kai stuff like that. It really was. I think those movies represented a lot of what that era was like, you know? And it became that. So, but fast forward, by the time I won the sports job, everything started coming together. We got on the radio 2005. By that time, it's 2005. I'd been doing dueling for about 5 years at that point. So March 17th of 2000 was when I had my first paid dueling piano gig. So this March coming up would be 25 years that I've been doing this.
Congratulations.
Stuff.
That's awesome, man.
Thank you,
That's
man.
great.
It's been a great journey. And along the way, I didn't think I'd be able to go around the world, but you know, the radio starts teaching you different things too, because I didn't know that world either. Because they had a journalist, Tony D, and then they had me as the goofball. And so we would make that relationship work. And next thing you know, we won an award. Next thing you know, we won the radio award. Next thing you know, we won another award. Next thing you know, I don't know if you guys have been in radio, but when you have nothing on Arbitron and all of a sudden you start getting blips, and then they become points, and then they become more points, and you're actually ranking, it is the greatest feeling in the world. And right when we had the greatest feeling in the world, the management came in and wanted to turn it to a Spanish station because it wouldn't have to have any hosts, and they wouldn't have to pay anybody, and so they wanted it out. And that's when the seed came in, and I said, I'll never, ever work for somebody again. Ever.
Just because in one moment, someone could just sweep up everything that you worked for.
The idea that you, me, Johnny, anybody, the idea that any of us could put everything we got into building essentially your dream or your bonus check. And the way you thank us is by replacing us or telling us to go. So I'd had some good mentors along the way too that weren't all just musical. I was really blessed to have some Miyagi people in my life that showed up at the right time, and a few Johnnies. Johnny and the Cobra Kai, not Johnny and the, I wasn't walking around, people slapped me in the face. No. But Johnny and the Cobra Kai and the Miyagis.
Johnny Lawrence.
And after he learned his stuff, hey man, quit crying. Hey man, this and that. Hey, and then I started hearing these things. I started getting these little nuggets that changed everything. One of my favorite ones. You want to hear one of my favorite ones? The magic you're looking for is in the work you avoid. The magic you're looking for is in the work you avoid.
Interesting.
And you start hearing things like that. It's like, if you're looking for the magic, you got to, even the pot of gold, you got to go find it. You got to go run over to the pot. You got to dig it up.
Do the hard work. Yeah.
I avoided a video edit for the last few weeks, and I just started the last few days, and I'm really enjoying it, and it's really good.
See, isn't that something? And that's a lot of times you'll see that even for whatever time we went to the gym or whatever, I will say this. The times I went to the gym that I didn't want to go, I was happy later when I did.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, you know what? That's good stuff, you know? But that's what entertainment does, is it tells you, like, it starts setting up parameters. Okay, I was going to go down this way, and I don't like working for other people, so I'll go this way. And along this, it's almost like a D&D episode, you know? You're like, roll for initiative. You know,
Right.
You're like, all right, you rolled a plus 18. You have a chance on meeting somebody that'll help you.
Yeah.
Oh, darn it. You only rolled a 4. You're going to have to work dishes again. You know,
But you got to play the game, though.
you got to play the game, man. And, you know, I think everything in life leads you to where you're at today. Playing D&D, being a busser, being a skater, getting punched in the nose, punching somebody else in the nose, getting that thing you wanted for Christmas, not getting that thing you wanted for Christmas, you know, getting the last piece of bread that wasn't that weird end on the bread, you know, and actually being able to make the last peanut butter and jelly sandwich before your sister or brother did. It just all keeps going. And I think that's what really started coming together. And about that time, you know, all these things started happening where I was like, okay, I'm going to go on my own with it. But the problem about going on your own with it is that you're really on your own. Because as you're going for your goal and you think, I did it, you get a piece of blue paper that says you're being divorced. Oh, I must have went after it too much. Darn. Guess I'm going to have to add that. And it became a thing where it was like, okay, so I'm not going to work for somebody. And for right now, I'm not going to be with anybody. And that's the decision I made. I said, you know, time out. I'm just going to get going on this. So I went to MySpace, and because that was what we had. What's up? And
Hey,
then,
I love my MySpace, man. We were all about it.
I
But yeah.
miss it.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I miss it. I know it got glittered out and stuff, but I miss it.
So many great people that we know of today came from MySpace, like the Impractical Jokers. They were doing
Oh, yeah.
skits on there. And
You had your top 8.
Yeah.
You, come on, man. I
Oh,
remember those
dude,
days.
absolutely. I know it got bedazzled a lot, but I still loved MySpace, especially as an entertainer. But yeah, I went and there was a MySpace ad. I had gone down to Texas and I had answered for a job on the Fort Worth Stockyards. And at the time I went to the Fort Worth Stockyards, I had my wife. And at the time, I would end up losing my wife. I'd end up losing my gallbladder because I was getting back pains. I didn't understand why. And so I found out my bile ducts were clogged up and it was causing the acid to go in my back. So one day when I was going to my first day of work, that we got to open this club. We're opening this club and my back is just, I mean, it's on fire. And I think something bad's about to happen. Like the pain is so bad, I think I'm going to pass out. And I'm driving on the freeway at the Dallas freeway. If you guys have never driven the Dallas freeway, let me tell you something.
I've heard about it.
It's not fun. So, but what I decided to do was I didn't know what was going to happen to me. So I needed other people to jump into action. So I immediately turned the car sideways, opened up the door and rolled out of the car so that people would call the police and call the ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
And so they did. And they found out. So boom, they take my gallbladder out. They call back home and they say, hey, you know, your husband's here in the hospital. You know, he says that he has kids and stuff like that. And she says, well, he's strong. He'll be fine.
Oh, man.
So she didn't tell my kids. She didn't tell anything. So once again, you're on your own. And that becomes a theme with music. And it comes a theme with entertainment. There's a lot of these moments where you're trying to go after something, but you're on your own. You're trying to figure something, but you're on your own. Something breaks, but you're on your own. And so having to rebuild that, while that was going on, the guys that built the entertainment complex were embezzling money from the city. So they disappeared with all the money. So now I lost the woman, the gallbladder, and I lost the job. So I'm sitting there in this apartment when there's nothing in the apartment. It was supposed to be the band house, and that was the only part they got. Inside was a crate with a Nintendo and an airbed. That's all they had got. We'd gotten for what? So I called my Mama D. God bless her heart. I miss her so much. Called Mama D, and I said, "Ma," and she could tell it was in my voice. And I'm not a big crier. You know, I've always tried to save funerals and stuff. But I'm whimpering at the very least, okay? I'm whimpering. And she goes, boy, you get in that car, you get up here to Oklahoma, I'm going to set you right with some hard work because that's what's going to clean you up. And so she got me up there. I lost all my money, lost everything. So she got me jobs with all these old ladies, all these little blue hairs, and just passed me around the church, like, what do you need done? And I was able to get $2,000 raised up, and she matched the $2,000 and said, you're going to be just fine. And she goes, what are you going to do now? I said, well, I have an audition in Chicago for this Howl at the Moon company for dueling pianos. But I said, I don't know, Mama D. I said, I'm not as good as those other ones. And she was not having it. She's like, listen, boy, you're going to go out there. And she goes, this family's been nothing but entertainers. You've been singing since we was on the farm and we was in this. You just go be who you are. Trust me, they like that. And I was like, okay. So I get to Chicago. I'm nervous as all get out. I don't get nervous. This is weird. I don't get nervous. I'm like, no. But I'm nervous. I'm scared. You don't know where you're going. You're alone. And I don't know Chicago. And being a country boy, I really didn't know Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have like, take number 2, take number 5, the train. No, they're like, take the orange, the red, the brown. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
I get downtown. We get in there. I meet everybody. Again, you're alone. And the greatest thing that could ever happen for me happened. Something hit somewhere and hit a power grid in Chicago, and the left side of Chicago's power went out. All these people were packed in there that paid tickets to see the Howl of the Moon show. So all the piano players leave the stage, and all the auditioners, there was like 20 auditioners. They're leaving. Jimmy Bernstein's there with Brad O'Brien, and Jimmy's like, well, we have no power here right now. I don't know what we're going to do here. And I was like, Mr. Bernstein, you mind if I go on stage, just have a crack at it? Kid, there's no light here. What are you going to do? So I go over to the stage and just did the improv comedy stuff, did the comedy, started just doing improv and everything like that. I don't know if I would have gotten the job with the piano skills that were limited at that time. I'm not going to sit here and say that my singing deserved a Grammy Award and stuff, but I got the job.
Wow.
And when they asked me how much I wanted, I just remember Mama D telling me, you got to go, any negotiation, you start way up here. Let them bring the knife to the whittle, And so I said, I had talked to somebody earlier and I said, what's a good rate they get around here? Well, like the bigger directors get like $200. So I told Joe Junior Order, he was like, well, what do you think? What do you want to, what are we going to do here? I said, I think $200 a night's good. I think that's fair. He goes, okay, $200 a night. The funny thing is, everybody else that went and negotiated was like, and you can give me 100 or 75 or 50 bucks if you want. It's like, why would you do that to yourself? Mm-hmm. So note to self, always believe in yourself and start here.
I like that. Yeah, that's good.
No, but we got that. I learned so much.
Wow,
I learned
crazy.
So much from so many people. I went in and I was like Colorado Springs boy. So I thought I was going to have this down. I was like, I'm popular. You don't understand in Colorado Springs. Baltimore could care less.
Yeah.
They started me out in Chicago. Then they took me to Fort Lauderdale. And then they wanted to try me in Baltimore. And Baltimore was a fit. And then I found out they had a Ukrainian town there. That was cool.
Oh, very cool.
I also found out where my parents started out there and where they came in off the boat, like right here. So I went there. I get to Howl at the Moon. And I had the greatest coach ever, Jimmy Morose, and he was like, get in there, and I'm in the back room before I get on stage, and all I hear is cheering and laughing and clapping and cheering. And I'm like, I didn't have that kind of rhythm in my show. Good Lord, that's a lot. And I get out there, man, and he would have this white piece of paper and a mechanical pencil, and every song I sing, he'd take a coaster, like a Coors coaster, a Coors Light, put on there and be like, he'd write down like glory days, learn the words, put it down. And like, I'd sing another song. He'd come up, free falling, rhythm much? Question mark, put it down. I go do another song. I would do like, Beastie Boys, too fast. I would have the front page and the back page of these little papers. And then he'd go get another piece of paper. So then I started getting 2 or 3. So it came to the point where I was like, I don't want that thing happening no more. So it went from about 3 or 4 pieces to 3 to 2 to 1 to half to 1 to none. And that was about that time where it was like I finally found my way, and he had taught me some great things. Like there was a real moment where I was really in a zone, and I was getting really good, really good. Problem is, I was letting everybody else know too. I think because that insecurity comes, right?
Right.
And so insecurity manifests in you trying to braggadocio yourself.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't have the best life coming up. And so I want to prove myself to everybody. So that's where, when people are being a braggart with you, a lot of times take a breath with them, take a beat with them. A lot of times it really comes from insecurity.
For sure, yeah.
At least, and that's my experience. At least I know that was with me.
Mm-hmm.
He said something that humbled me one time. He says, Mr. Sorrels, please do not forget that there are 250 dueling piano bars making money without Papi there tonight.
That's humble. That's good. That's good to humble you, yeah.
Huh?
That's
Right?
great. Yeah.
Let me tell you. Okay, air's out of the blue. Okay, we're calmed down now. But he also told me something too, is that just because you come in shining like a light and you have that ability, doesn't mean you should use it all the time. He taught me to narrow it down into a laser and that I could write my name into any audience that was made of any metal that was hard to read. And I'll never forget. He would say things like that and do things, little
That's awesome.
clicker and mechanical pencils, white paper. Don't forget there's other piano bars making money without you being there. Carve your name in any audience that represents any type of metal, meaning that there's going to be harder audiences. But if you take all your light and zoom it to
What a great
laser,
mentor, man.
huge, invaluable. And along the way, you'd meet that. But at that time, that's when the loneliness really started kicking in. The divorce was now a year in. And one day, at one party, something you never thought you'd do. And they're like, hey, come on into the bathroom.
That's where they
Chop,
take
chop,
it.
chop,
Yeah.
chop, chop. Slurp it up. I was into Slurpees up until that point, 7-Eleven, what's up? Suicide Slurpees, get a flavor each, I was a whole new Slurpee now. I was doing nosies, and you mix it with the drinking and stuff. And I won't go into all of it. I know we don't have the time, but it started unraveling all this. You think that that's how I'm going to fight it. That's how I'm going to fight all this stuff.
Right.
And it becomes a mess. And then you're regulating different things on stage. I remember one time in Kansas City, you guys might like this.
That's where I'm from, actually.
Is that right? I played at the Power and Light District there.
Oh, yeah, that's a good spot. Wow, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
no, I used to get my steaks over at the Quaff.
Okay.
Yeah,
nice.
Tuesdays night, steak night, what's up? And I played at the Foundation,
Okay.
which is also where I did most of my cocaine. Anyway, but at any rate, we were at Howl at the Moon, and so the guys are like, Pappy, you're always so energetic. Now, I'm sober now. Now, this is me. So imagine just for a moment, fellas, any type of upper being in this body. Imagine what I'm like on coke. So they say, hey, man, why don't you try this pot? I was like, man, I'm from Colorado. What are you talking about? And for the first time ever, I did pot on stage. I don't know about you guys. I can't operate on pot
That's how I
like
am
that.
too. Yeah.
Like indica is into couch. I was into grave, man.
Yeah.
So I remember this is funny because I had my memory and everybody else's memory of it. So I'm on stage and it's time for the top of the hour. So we have the clock, 52 to 06 at the top of the hour is where the band sets are. 28 to 32 is where we're doing the dance numbers. So I'm at 52 and I'm like, okay, it's time for Beastie Boys, And all of a sudden, I'm normally like this. And I'm like, you wake up late for school and you don't want to boom, dun, 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 dun. And it just felt like this. You wake up late for school and you don't want to go. It was so slow. And the pot was getting to me so bad that I went to the second verse. I'm going to the second verse. Your pops catch you smoking, and he said, no way. You got to fight. And I quit the song. And I closed the song down. And everybody's on stage going, what are you doing? There's another verse. And I was like, don't worry. It's taking too long. We were never going to get there in time. And apparently that's what I said.
Wow.
So the entertainment director goes, somebody get him either Adderall or a line of Coke right now because we need Pappy back because we're getting ready to hit our IR because I had a lot of numbers. But those were the kind of things that would happen. And then you fast forward and it's those moments. One of the things about the divorce was that you don't have the children during the year. than you have them during the summer. And as the children would come back in the summer, I'd clean everything up. I'd be straight as an arrow. I couldn't do anything like that, you know. And then I started asking myself, well, why am I doing that? And it just starts coming to be one after another where you say, like, wait a minute. And it's all that. It's all those things, like the innocence of the kids and the, you know, what is the thing you're leaving and how do you want to feel? And so, you know, you deal with that to where you sit there and say, okay, I got to stay busy. And that's where you create the business. And that's where Acme Event Co. and Acme Dueling Pianos came from. In that I know now that I'm an addict, but I know that if I put my efforts that I put into that into something productive, and I think you're going to hear the same from Johnny Joy and others. And when you talk to Brother Luck, you probably hear something similar, is that when it becomes about others, when it becomes about building something, there's something about legacy. There's something about building, even when we were kids, we would remember how we'd go grab mom and dad and let's show what the Lego building we did or to show the piece of art we did.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And why is that? Because we're proud of it. We did something and we want everybody to look. And so it feeds like that. And that's what ended up happening with me, where it said, okay, the next step was, what about the people in the, and it hit me. I'm like down a float trip in Florida. And for whatever reason, it just felt like, where's the Holy Spirit? Some people call it the purple spaghetti monster, whatever you want. That's fine. That's fine. Come as you are. I'm all about it. Said, you're selfish. Just this thing said, you're selfish. And I thought about it. I'm like, what? So I'm doing everything I can. Who are you playing music for? When you go get all those tips, when you go get all that money, got you all this talent. What are you doing with it? You going to help anybody? Or are you just going to keep it for yourself? Shoot. I should probably do something with this because it is, right? If you're really good at something, there's almost like this, that wasn't just naturally yours. Like there was part of it somewhere magical, however you want to look at it, that was given to you. And it almost feels like Clash of the Titans, you know? They gave him the helmet, they gave him the sword, they gave him the, you know? But we need you to get Medusa. Mm-hmm. You need to do something with it. Don't just go on holiday to Sodom and Gomorrah, you know? Mm-hmm. And I just started doing that. And it was so funny because you start opening yourself up to wanting to help, and need shows itself immediately. And right then, now we're getting to 2020, and some sort of bat came out of China or something, but the news came out that something was happening in Washington. Mm-hmm. And it was hitting an old folks home. Remember how it started?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And at first, what did everybody do? Oh, man, it sucks for old folks. Mm-hmm. And you know, walk on. Well, that's Washington. Mm-hmm. And then Portland. And then this, and then this.
And then Tom Hanks says something about it. And then
Yeah, that's right. And then that's where 2 days away, I'm getting ready to go on this massive tour. Good money, really good money. Man. And right before, and oddly enough, around St. Patty's Day, my anniversary for dueling, right around March of 2020, they're like,
it was March 16th or something like that. 15th,
yeah.
Like the day
and
before.
They said, it was right before I was getting ready to go on this massive tour, massive 10-month tour. Mm-hmm. And we're talking like $8,000 to $12,000 a month swings. Well, it's gone. All of it. And it wasn't just me, by the way. You know, it's not what was me. Mm-hmm. You were feeling it. Your parents were feeling it. I was feeling it. My parents, I get it. But it was all gone. And so at that point, I knew one thing in my head. I said, I need time. So I told my business partner, I said, hey, I need time. I need 2 days. And I don't even know if it was that I needed 2 days, but it took 2 days. And we were all right. And so I came back upstairs after about 2 days. At least that's the way he says it. Recently, he told me that. He goes, all I know is 2 days later, you came running upstairs. You busted open the door and said, I got it. I know what we're going to do. And like what you guys are doing here, I was like, hey, what was that thing we saw, that OBS? They got that OBS software.
Open broadcast.
Yeah. Exactly, you see. And at the time, I didn't, and I'm like, they got OBS and we get the videos and we can create the frames and we can, man, just like in the old days with dueling pianos, he and I spent 14 to 16 hours a day Didn't know anything about OBS. Didn't know anything about all this
It's hair
stuff.
pulling learning OBS, that's for sure.
And we're just diving. Yeah, it is. You know.
Yeah.
You know.
I've done it before.
And that's the thing. And at the time in 2020, and I kid you not when I say this, and I say this with no humbleness at all. We had the best looking videos out
Nice.
there, better than KKTV, because we dived in. And you guys know what it's like when you're getting creative.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people don't know what this stick over here does, but it's cool.
Yeah.
But it works for some reason. It's because you guys went and researched it,
Mhm.
saying, you know what it's like. And we started doing underground shows and started raising money
That's
immediately.
awesome.
The first drive-in
Oh, yeah.
was Acme Event Company.
Wasn't Rocky part of that?
No,
Okay. He did something.
he did something similar. Yeah, no, he did something similar. So we were at Slinger Smokehouse and Saloon. So the first drive-in was us.
Okay, yeah.
And we set the drive-in screen up. Now he came on with me later
Mhm.
at Good Company.
Okay.
He helped with that one and stuff. So we worked together. And we do things like that all the time,
Mhm.
Rocky. So I love you, Rocky. You know what's up.
Yeah.
But we started putting movie screens up and getting radio transmitters and getting people in their cars and doing that. Then another brewing company went and did that. And then it just became a thing where like, okay, we're going to do that. We're getting the monies. I got with the bikers, obviously, we loaded ride and stuff. And they were extremely helpful. You ever want to get something done, get with some bikers.
Okay.
It's going to get it done. You need to raise money,
Mhm.
find some bikers.
Mhm.
And if you do that, you're going to raise some money.
What do
And
you
the-
ride, by the way? What do you ride, by the way?
Well, Indian, the only thing you
Nice.
should ride.
Do you know
yeah.
we had them on the podcast actually? The
Tito and all them?
Yeah,
Or
Tito was
Lorenzo?
on.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, specifically, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
They're badasses.
Yeah.
We love the whole family.
Oh, I tell you what, man. Ceballos family, man. That's great stuff. Yeah,
Mhm.
I did a lot of shows for them over there at Indian. We did a lot of different,
Nice.
when they first opened, I did the
Yeah.
show for them and stuff like that. They do trade out for stuff. So I got all these cool Indian jackets and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, this necklace actually came from them.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
sweet.
That
Nice.
necklace
Yeah.
from them, yeah. That ring's from a lady, though. Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. My little lady over there in the corner. She thought it'd be a good little birthday gift, and she was right. But no, we just started raising money. I met her actually. And so what I started doing was I developed this thing where I wanted to show what sacrifice was. And now that I was trying to do it without drugs, and I was doing it. So I created the 24-hour pianothon. So what it was I would sit down and play piano for 24 hours straight
Oh my gosh.
to raise money. And I started with, I had done it at Shands Children's Hospital in Florida, but then the first one I did was at
Mhm.
Barquet. So I played 24 hours there, and we had raised money always had raised money for stuff. When the Heyman fires came, when I was on the road, I got different dueling piano bars to buy my truck, buy horse feed, buy new toys. People come up with used toys. I said, Colorado Springs kids are not used kids. They're new kids. They get new toys. So I made everybody give back the used toys and had to go buy new toys.
Nice.
If you're going to be hard about something, be hard about it for kids that, want toys and get the food for the horses. And so we had just done stuff like that. So we raised the money there. The next year we come by. Well, when 2020 came, I was like, what do we do? And you kind of like, you ever done a promotion? It's like, you kind of ran it into the ground maybe a little. Not like you did anything bad with it, but it's just like, well, we already saw him do that. What else can you do, Superman?
Mhm.
Come on, Batman. And so I got this idea. I was like, okay, then I will do 24 hours straight every Saturday in May. And so I picked 4 places, and every Saturday I go, and it didn't go without its whatever you want to call that. There was people that were in disagreement about the process of COVID. And that's fine. People are gonna have ways they talk. We gotta
Totally.
learn. We gotta learn to understand that. We gotta let that be. But they tried to cancel one of mine. Well, she showed up to one of mine, and we just went to different restaurants. All my bartenders service. We created the Shutdowns Ruined Towns. So Greg Howard
Nice.
from downtown, Sean Fitzgerald, who owns Wobbly Olive and Illusion,
Mhm.
he was on the team. I was on the team. So we created Shutdowns Ruined Town shirts, and it had shirts with like broken shot glasses and different things to symbolize that,
Mhm.
this is not going to work. You can't shut us down like this.
Right.
Someone's got to move somewhere. In the process of all that, we raised all this money. We got all this stuff going. All things are going good. And as a whole in America, we're all getting like a little cabin fever.
Yeah, stir crazy.
Well, speaking of stir crazy, we started to go to Sturgis, and we was getting ready to go to that. Well, the problem, that was the first one was Sturgis. I think it was the 75th anniversary, wasn't it? Yeah. And so we go up there, and I have a show up there at the Knucklehead. So I'm playing for 6 days. We get back, and all of a sudden, I'm just, long story short, through all this time in COVID, a year into COVID, I don't get hit with nothing. I'm out in town. Matter of fact, I'm one of the ones saying, I'm driving the motorcycle. I'm giving food to people that can't get food. And not just me, by the way. A lot of people were helping me and my team. Make that clear. And I got it. And when I got it, it was like, got it. What was unique at the time was COVID was so new, but I was so well known in town that I did a Facebook Live, and nobody had done a Facebook Live with this thing before. So I was doing a Facebook Live from Memorial Hospital. And one of my biker buddies came and saw me. She knew. They were getting my vitals on the app. And what they weren't telling me was that my vitals were just going down. And I was told one thing, don't get on the ventilator and this and that. So I'm in the hospital. I'm like shadow boxing and doing things I can. I'm doing everything they tell me. He was talking to me through a window like, don't. So it was, I'm not going to say I was the only one, but nobody had been on video about this before. So I'm daily doing Facebook Lives, taking pictures or doing the Facebook Live video. They came to me with a drug saying it's called remdesivir, and there's 1,000 that are going to be given out in Colorado, and you could be one of them. You want it? We can't guarantee you're going to live if you do it. Okay. Well, let's do it. It worked. The steroids, the wonderful people at Memorial Hospital, just wonderful staff. I can't say enough about them. Fortunately for some, I ended up living. For others, unfortunately, I ended up living. No, yeah. But when that whole thing happened, as we started evolving, right around there, Missy and I just kind of looked at everything at that point and just said, I think we're done with all the booze and stuff. I think we're done. And so we just dove everything into helping people. We built Acme up. We have an opportunity now to finally get the hometown dueling pianos that belongs in Boot Barn Hall, and not what I call the tourists, the tourist companies that aren't from here. We're getting back to a place where, Martini Shot, one of those bands there.
Oh, yeah.
I was one of the first ones to book Martini Shot here. So we have there's stories, narratives that go all the way around with all of us. We're all connected. Johnny Joy, Rocky Ross, me, Anthony, all these guys. And that's what starts making the nucleus. And we haven't seen this for a long time. But remember that first part of this conversation where I told you guys there was a time in the 90s where there was music and there was a representative of every single thing that was in life at that time? We're seeing it now. We're seeing it again now. Now we got drag queen shows again, which in our day we used to go to hide and seek, whether you're straight or nothing. You did this. Now we got the drag queen shows. You're seeing the cowboys again. You're seeing the bikers out there. You're seeing the businessmen out there. You're seeing the ladies out there doing things. We're getting amazing women accomplishing amazing things in music. You have Sarah Voss, who you guys should look up with Dizzy Charlie's. She is changing the jazz scene single-handedly, practically, because she loves it so much. But all of a sudden, we're all talking to each other again. I talk with Sarah Voss all the time. I talk with Johnny Joy all the time. I talk with Rocky Ross all the time. I talk to Brother Luck. Just saw him the other day at the top of Manhattan's about a month or so ago. Hugged each other, and that conversation's happening. All these people with talents are using them again. So it's a really wonderful time to see music and entertainment, what you're doing. What you're doing. We're talking about it. We're noticing you guys. And what better than to tell the narrative? Everything great that we've ever learned about history started from the narrative of a story. Mm-hmm. Whether it was a history book or the Bible or the Quran or whatever you want. Some group of people said, let's write it down. Here's what we saw. Did you see him walk across that water? It was great. I don't know if I saw that, but it starts the things. You're starting the narrative because of guys like you. This is why this really meant a lot to me. Not just because I like to talk, which you see I have no problem doing. Not because of getting video, but because you're including me in the fabric of something I care about. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you guys care about it.
And clearly you do too. Yeah.
With every bit of any type of passion you can imagine. Mm-hmm. I would lift a building out of the ground if I could. And sometimes I think I can. And that's what I got to remember. Easy.
Yeah.
But what we're doing here now and what you've been doing, this is great. This is where we're heading, and we need to do something with it.
Yeah.
We got to have more of this. The Gazette needs to step up.
Yeah.
The Independent needs to step up. We need a lot. We got to get back to those old school articles.
Oh yeah.
That was about us.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody at the Independent needs to do an article about you guys to help. You know, and you guys know this game.
Oh yeah.
The influencer game, Casey Neistat, all this, that, whatever. This person knows this, Ben Shapiro, all these different things. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Casey Neistat's my guy.
That's his boy, yeah.
That's my guy. Yeah,
guy.
I have a YouTube. We met Casey Neistat. My kids
really?
wanted to meet him.
That's awesome.
So we made a trip to New York, and I booked gigs along the way, and
That's
we got
awesome.
to meet him. So it's pretty cool. But now I have this, the end of the story is that, you know, now I'm in my 50s, even though I don't look it.
You look great.
Well, the hair, right? I mean, can we talk about that for a minute? I still have it. Yay.
Yeah.
I'm in my 50s now, and I'm in the last chapter of my vitality of youth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I played in Aruba and St. Martin, Curacao, British Virgin Islands, and I talked to the 61, 63, 65-year-old sailors, and I noticed they were all selling their boats. And I said, man, I've talked to you many times. 30, 40 years you've been with those boats. They're like, look, kid, something happened. As I was turning the crank, a little something. Not horrible, but something that made me know. These people are putting their passions away. And I said, well, what's left for you? What are you going to do? And they said, I don't know. So another light hit. I'm not going to say I don't know. I want to leave a legacy. So my legacy for Colorado Springs is this. We have just became an unofficial liaison for Boot Barn Hall to get opening acts to open for national acts at Boot Barn Hall. We just had the Moldy Figs with Boyd Sweeney.
Oh yeah, he used to be part of my festivals I used to put on. I love Boyd Sweeney.
Boyd was the first one. I called him and I said, Boyd, Haley Reinhart from Postmodern Jukebox is cutting out on her own solo album. We need a band. And I'm going to go pitch you to them. So I went.
That's awesome.
Talked to Boyd, pitched. Happy to say Boyd crushed it. The Moldy Figs crushed it.
Love it.
They opened up for Haley. Next thing you know, they wanted Tracy Bird. We got this wonderful country artist named Michael Schwett. The Michael Schwett duo. It's actually part of Red Mountain Highway. That's the big band, but they didn't want to have a band. But we got Michael Schwett there. They wanted to have a Frank Sinatra thing. And so one of our buddies out there, Rick, he's going to be doing that, his Sinatra thing. And then we were going to do it January 3rd, but it's looking like they're going to move us to Valentine's Day. But I'm taking dueling pianos to a whole nother level. So since I was the first dueling piano guy here, I decided it's time to take that to another level. Legacy, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So now I have 2 new shows. I have 3 grands, 6 hands, 9 times the fun, and 4 grands royale, the 4 grands, 8 hands phenomenon. So instead of 2 dueling pianos, I now have 3 pianos, 7-foot white grand shells. And then the 4 grands royale is 4 with 2 of them on risers. There's 4 grand pianos and we all play together and do the show. So trying to keep the innovation going, even though I'm in my 50s, I think that you can still be innovative in your 50s.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Joe Rogan's 50s.
Joe Rogan's, and you know, Muhammad Ali. I love that you and me.
He's getting it.
And I'm gonna give you a hug too later. But the thing is that you know, Muhammad Ali said, "The man at 50 that looks at the world the same way he did at 25 has wasted half his life."
Oh yeah,
that hit me hard 25 years ago. So I made sure as we come on. And that's, I think, the thing of the story is that now I'm innovating this stuff with dueling pianos and turning it into something more that I can't wait to show in my own hometown. I got this batch of kids that are in their 20s, and they're so talented. They're more talented than I am. They just don't know how to put it all together yet.
Yeah.
But I'm helping them. And it's neat to see the universe in somebody else's eyes. Am I right?
Oh yeah.
Isn't it neat to see the universe in somebody else's eyes, especially young eyes? And they're good. Oh, guys, they're good. They're so good. Guys, gals, everything. Tall, short, everything. They're so good. And to be part of that, I'm working with a partner of mine that he and I were in it for a long time. And now that's our swan song out of there. And being able to change the game at dueling pianos one more time, to do it clean, to leave this for somebody else, and to leave a chance for bands here
Yeah.
to be seen nationally. And as I go out on the road and I go to casinos in South Dakota or we play showrooms, everywhere I go, I come in like a Trojan horse with the dueling pianos. And then as soon as they start giving me compliments, I go, oh, thank you very much. Hey, let me tell you about a band back in Colorado Springs that I think you love. Raphael Slade, Tony Exum Jr., Boyd Sweeney.
Can I tell you about one?
Please.
Some of my friends, they've been going to venues and stuff for the last year. Winchester Road, have you?
Oh my gosh, Missy, Winchester Road, right?
Nice.
We have been trying to work with them and nothing in a bad way. Scheduling.
Okay,
Their schedule, our schedule. We have come close to finding them several different gigs.
Okay. Nice.
Yes. Yeah, the Fort Carson. So we're doing the Fort Carson entertainment now. And that's the nice thing with Acme is we're taking over things in Fort Carson to get local things going. We're an aid to Boot Barn Hall to get things going. Of course, I have my own independent stuff that I do. But a lot of the stuff I'm doing, I'm trying to do out of Colorado Springs because
awesome.
They need to be taught a lesson. Not the followers and some of the followers. We got to stop doing things for free. Okay? And I'm going to say this, and if you edit it out, fine, but I'm going to just at least try and say it, so I hope you keep it. This thing of free is not for me, and it's not for we.
That's for sure.
In Colorado Springs, believe this or not, in 2005, the smoking ban came. That's what changed it. Because people didn't know how to market. One of the first things companies do is they get rid of marketing. Biggest mistake. As you guys get bigger, don't get rid of your marketing. That's who you want to hug.
We're marketers. So
Yeah.
Hello. Then keep hugging yourselves.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's awkward, but whatever. She's with me, so it's not weird when I do it with her. But
This guy.
and yeah, that was weird. Okay, so but that's me.
I love it.
The thing is that when you're doing this stuff, we paid for bands saying if a band was brand new, it's free because they're brand new. They're finding the way, man.
Exposure.
If it was $5 or $10, well, now they must be something, and they were. Now the max was even in my day, the max was $20, $15, $20. Boy, they were good, really good, and that's how I tell people. I just told this to the team that I train. I was wondering to get them how to understand tips. I don't like that word. Tips. I mean, first of all, we're in an age where like everything's being tipped now. It's gotten crazy. And it's unfortunate for the people that really do need the tip still, you know. But I said, we don't play for tips. Those tips are not money. They're not dollars. They're approvals. When you get money from people, when people pay you with money, they're giving you an approval rating. They're giving you an approval rating of 1, of 10, of 20, of 50. And that approval rating is something they gave you from them to say, I worked for this, but I'd like to give it to you because you're working for me and I don't think about some of the things I didn't want to think about. And that's the power of music and that's the power of comedy, power of entertainment. When you go in, I tell them all the time, we perform to make sure that people forget that they paid a door fee. We perform for everybody that bought mascara, for everybody that bought cologne, for everybody that kenneled their dog, that bought a hotel room, that bought new tires on that truck to make it to our venue. We play for those people. We pay by giving the greatest show we can give. And the ones that get it make that beautiful in Colorado Springs. I am sick and tired of hearing about Denver. I've been sick and tired about Denver. I don't hate Denver people, if you're listening. I don't hate Denver people. I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of hearing that we got some big brother up there that does it better than we do.
Me too.
They can bring their podcasters and their bands and their arm wrestlers down here to the Springs, or we can meet in Castle Rock.
Yeah.
And if you think you're so ahead of the curve, let's dance.
Or even Parker if you want to.
You know, yeah, Parker, which is where we play the studio at Main Street at Parker. But like, it's ridiculous. We've taken creation and we've limited it with indecision, overthinking, being talked out of it, being told, well, you're not this, you're not that. I mean, you're meeting people that you don't even recognize that you've technically known forever on Facebook because the filters are so bad that by the time you meet them at King Soupers, you're like, whoa, okay, Scott, that's good. Whoo! And he's a realtor. Okay, that's good stuff. Yeah. Susie, oh my God, that's Susie. You know, I think truth is so hard right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because of how fake everything is.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why truth rubs things. And music and art is one of those things that constantly breaks that. And I can't be proud enough of the Jake Loggins, the martini shots, the arch hooks. I can't be proud enough of the Winchester Roads. I can't be proud enough of Boyd Sweeney, Katie Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
I can't be proud enough of Michael Sweat. You know, I can't be proud enough of Saxman Nate, Tommy Saxman Foyer, Nico Carlucci, Tony Exum Jr., Raphael Slade. I mean, I could go on and on.
And don't forget Wirewood Station.
And Wirewood Station,
Yeah.
and all day long. And these podcasts, these entertainments, these musics, these comedies, they're this moment when you're just about to choke underwater and just over it. And that little bit of air comes in. Do you know how much I've learned from some of your podcasts about people I thought I knew? People I thought I knew. And I don't mean like, I thought I knew them. I don't mean it like that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just have resting jerk face. But you learn things because you guys have allowed us to talk. You know, some people actually allowed you to talk, and I'm sorry that I wasn't able to do that today. You know,
No, this has been awesome.
I'm
man.
so sorry that I took over. And anybody watching this is going to laugh their tail off going, that's Pappy. You know, Johnny Joy especially. But no, but if we are coming to an end on this, it is that the thankfulness I have is for anybody that allowed me to project what was inside me. They allowed the process of my pain to turn into art, to turn into something beautiful that flies. And I appreciate that from everybody. When you have opportunities to do it on a microphone in a podcast, when you have to do it on a microphone in a bar, when you go from a bar to a hotel, when you go from a hotel to a theater, when you go from a theater to a stadium, I've played in all of them, played around the world. And the one thing that I know without a doubt is that anytime, I like what Dave Grohl said, whether you're singing to 3,000 or 300 people, they're singing back to you for different reasons. 300 and 3,000 different reasons. And there's not a song that was written that wasn't inspired by something that happened with somebody else, by somebody else, and for somebody else. There's not a story that's narrated that doesn't have people in it. So this idea that we're all just separatists, that we're all just stay away from each other, that you'd rather be with a bear than this or whatever, this and that. No, it's togetherness. And it's awkward and it's ugly. And that's what made the music so good. Because we talk about awkward and ugly in music. And it's what makes comedy funny. And it's what makes the melodrama at Manitou Springs great.
Oh, yeah.
Because they still reference things that we're dealing with today. But they just do it in an oleo. And that's pretty cool, I think. And that's the neat thing in the ending of this story for me is that it doesn't end. It just keeps getting narrated into a new muse, into a new form of music, into a new form of communication. And as long as we keep trying to communicate, who cares how much we talk to try to figure it out? Who cares how long-winded somebody is? But like your podcast, you listen long enough, you learn something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing you're bringing to this. And so I thank you guys very much for your time. And I hope this was productive in some way. I don't know where you're going to edit because I don't think I shut up at any time of it, you know?
Keeping it all in.
I was in my head going, put a period here, put a comma there, be quiet, shush. So, but thank you very much, guys.
No, this has been great. Thank you so much for singing your song and dancing your dance and letting us just listen to you and hear the story. And we learned a whole lot about the history of Colorado Springs.
I love that, yeah.
And some of the movers and shakers. We so appreciate this.
So many
man.
great people out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you've had a lot of them on here and you got more coming.
More coming, man.
And that's going to be a testament to you guys' work. There's so many great people.
This month is 5 years of doing the podcast.
5 years.
Yeah.
And what a neat thing to see the evolution. It's
Right.
kind of like when we saw some of our favorite YouTube stars, like where was, like I think you mentioned the Impractical Jokers and where they started, Gary Vaynerchuk, where he
Rogan,
started,
man.
Rogan, where he started,
15 years.
Casey Neistat, where he started, and all this. I think that's the thing that Gary always says, right? And I know you guys are Gary Vaynerchuk watchers, but
Oh yeah.
just do it. Just Nike had it right.
Mm-hmm.
Nike had it right. Just do it. It's so that. And my favorite. I'll end with this. My favorite Kurt Vonnegut quote. I used to love reading Kurt Vonnegut because it would calm me down. And if you do have a lot of random thoughts in your head, I strongly suggest reading Kurt Vonnegut. I don't know why, but it just speaks to you, especially us people. That's not a technical term, but that's the one I came up with. There are people like us that love to run off a cliff as fast as we can to put our wings on as we're falling, only to finally fly away in safety before the ground hits. And that whole journey of all that is, I think, what creativity takes. I think you have to run off a cliff. You don't really know where it's going, but along the way, you're going to put your wings together. And it's just, and what a neat thing to see with you guys is 5 years, right?
It.
Isn't that great? Isn't that great? Do you guys look back and go, oh my God, I said that? Or
Yeah, it's grown.
I certainly have many times, even just watching him.
Would
Oh,
you?
100%. I
Yeah.
actually don't like to look back. I'm a forward person. I like to constantly look towards the future.
Well, that's a very powerful thing to do. It really is. If you look back for
I think it's 'cause I'm
reference,
scared, so I don't know.
well, and I think it's true. It's like when the neat thing about running is that it moves to another place you weren't at before.
Mhm.
That's the neat thing.
Yeah, and I love that. I love novelty. I'm a novelties chaser. So.
Oh, see, then that's great. Well, it's really special. And even how all this comes together, you have people that say they believe in you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we go quick, don't we? They sponsor the show. No, it's kind of like tips and the appreciation.
It is, yeah.
Sponsor is we approve.
Mm-hmm.
We are inspired by what you may be creating from the little bit you gave us.
Mm-hmm.
I think we want to let you have the space so that you can do that.
Yeah.
That's what's neat. Sometimes when I say sponsors at my shows, I try to slow down. I really try to slow down because I've done shows, right, where you go like, hey, everybody, we're here today and we're doing sponsored by this and that and in part by this and that and this. So thank you for being it. Ladies and gentlemen,
Mm-hmm.
this stage will be rocking and it will be shaking, but none of it would happen without rock star marble and granite.
There you go. Yeah,
but
that's
those are the
great.
ways that I sponsor
Yeah.
now.
That's
By the
good.
way,
Yeah, I love
that was
yeah.
for you, T.
Yeah.
But
he just got a plug on the show.
hey man, I'm doing it where I can. But listen, I know I've taken your time. I'm gonna go get some kava at Kava Works.
Nice.
The jokes here is that it's about community. That's why I look at the camera and do that. It's
No, I
a
love
way
it.
to
No,
say
it's great. Yeah.
that's the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that when you meet, I wish we would spill everything on Facebook, on Instagram, and in conversation. Hey man, it's really good to see you. Sorry. I just lived in Federal Credit Union where I got a 24-month CD. It was really cool. But anyway, I was just coming here and I had to get something to eat. I was actually over at Brother Luck's place and they had this new bowl. It was cool. Anyway, but so I'm going to be coming over there, but I had to get new threads. So yeah, so I went and see James over there. We were at the Men's Warehouse. That was really fitting me. Anyway, how are you doing? I kind of wish conversations went like that. Well, that's funny. I was coming to see you today too. And I ended up anyway, I saw Greg Howard at Patty Jewett, and they had, of course, they have the lobster specials on Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
And, you kind of wish, it wouldn't be, I guess it wouldn't be normal, but it's something I dream about. Like, hey, tell me where you've been.
Yeah.
Tell me all about it.
I was in Yoder earlier shooting a documentary for Mattersville Wolf Sanctuary that helps veterans. So yeah, there you go.
Really? And you're shooting a documentary?
Just a mini documentary. Yeah.
Well, you're just doing awesome, pal.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, that's awesome. Hey, that's
Yeah.
really cool, man. That's really cool. Where would you like to? I'd like to. Can I ask the final question to you?
Yeah.
So, you're 5 years here. And what's the legacy you'd like to leave in everything that you do? I'd like to hear that from each of you.
For the podcast?
Your legacy, if it were to tomorrow, what's the legacy you'd hope you left, or the one you'd like to leave? Legacy. What would you like to leave for everybody else to enjoy and have?
My face. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I struggle with this question because I struggle with the concept of death. So it's hard for me because it's like when you're dead, you're gone, you know? So it's like it's like you can't experience even if you're able to give everyone everything you ever wanted after you die, you wouldn't be able to experience that. So it's like, in my opinion, at least. So, yeah. So I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that. Do you have a better answer?
Well, my grandparents moved us here in the 80s. So speaking of the 80s here, so it's changed a lot. But they were all about the community here. And so like they knew a lot of different people in the community, and somehow I followed in their footsteps. And it's been so great to have the community and the folks that we've met along the way. I knew a lot of folks. I did events, like I organized large events in Colorado. And so I knew a lot of these people like Boyd and all these people through that. And throughout the way, I mean, I love just connecting people. I just love that, man.
Yeah, I can tell.
I love connecting that. I love you mentioning these people and us mentioning the people. And you were talking about like, in small talk about like, oh yeah, I just saw James Proby. Oh yeah, Milton E. Proby Road, and like all these different connections.
Exactly.
It just makes for the best conversations, and it's the story of our town. And so I just hope to continue to make that story known to everybody who comes in, because it's very, very important, and we should covet it as a town. It's a cool story, and there's so many badass people in this town. Really, and so like, especially in this past year, we've just interviewed some of the coolest people that you would never know are just walking around in this town and done amazing
Isn't
cool
it the
things.
greatest thing?
Yeah, it's been
amazing.
amazing.
I was just at the Walt Disney Museum that his family made for we just had a gig in San Francisco, and it was interesting because there's this guy, Jim Rohn, who I just love to death, and Walt Disney, who I love to death, and he went through all the struggles, and nobody knew who he was, and then when he was somebody, they came up with all these stories about him, and they did all the things. But in answer to the death thing that he said, and Jim Rohn said, is that one of the most important things you could leave behind is intellectual property. Because the intellectual property keeps going even when you're gone. And if you think, like, go ask Johnny Joy how many Jim Rohn tapes he's listened to. Ask me how many I've listened to.
Oh, Jim Rohn's the GOAT, man.
And if you look at like Walt Disney, look how many movies to this day you could rewatch Lion King, or you could rewatch Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, or you can rewatch, Aristocats or something like that.
I think I could do a Jim Rohn impression right now.
Jim, yeah?
Do it.
You never know what you're gonna get.
Remarkable. Don't ask it was easy. Don't ask it was easier. Ask that you were better.
Yeah, exactly. That was the first time I ever tried to do that. No.
Well, I think you guys are already leaving intellectual property, and
so too,
you, I think you've already left something behind.
Yeah.
So I like the idea of intellectual property for all of us in the way we do it, because I think that's how we're going to remember Johnny Joy. I think all the food is how we'll remember Brother Luck. I think all the piano performances and all this, and I'd like to think all the community work is how you remember me. I'd like to think that people are going to remember your podcast and what you gave and stuff.
For sure.
And that's the good stuff. That's the good stuff.
It's the best.
It feels as good as the color blue that you used in the studio. I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Very comforting.
Just to add one more thing to that too, is when you said you had that epiphany, or the purple god guy on the river.
Well, I don't like to upset anybody. It was Jesus for me, but I got friends that it's the purple spaghetti monster, and I'm okay with that too.
When you said,
I love my people.
When you said you had that epiphany, I actually recently had that. I think that same epiphany just a couple months ago, actually.
Is that right?
So I'm still grappling with it a little bit. So.
And how did it hit you?
I don't know. Actually, I don't remember exactly where I was, but it just something was about like I've been selfish or something like that. Yeah.
It's interesting as creators, we fall into it quick. And, cameras are on us. People are watching us. And I'll get, especially when I do those bravado songs, the vibrato songs, it's like you're singing this, and then all of a sudden it's like, fall on your knees, oh, hear the angel voices, oh, light divine, oh, light, when cries were, and you're getting these things going, and you're like, you really mean to get it out there. But then there's a party like, that was good, wasn't it? Yeah, I did that, didn't I? And then you're kind of like,
that was amazing, man.
You sit there and you go, well, what did I do it for? Where is it? Where was it birthed? Where is it? Who is it mailed to? And it's funny, and I think in creation we deal with that. So I think that's remarkable for you. I think I was about your age when it started hitting me too. And I think as creators, it's a nice question to ask ourselves. That mirror has been such a tough thing to look at, but my best friend. Because every time I look at everything crumbling or when I've not been my best, anytime that mirror was there, I was able to go, that guy. Okay, listen, we need to do better. But I think creativity allows for that because that place you go to push. Now, how are we going to edit this? I'd really like to layer this. Do I put the fonts on this? I'd like them to slide in like this. I'd like to layer, like, how many layers do we get? Well, it's Final Cut Express. Well, why didn't you get Adobe Pro? This and that, or you do all these things, and the funny thing is that no matter how hard, which I remember this in radio, they would say, just talk. And we noticed something very interesting. I don't know if this worked for you guys, but Tony D and I, when we were kind of not great with each other, and it wasn't horrible. He's a wonderful man. He's over in New Jersey now, but when it wasn't great with us, the air checks were awesome. Because we were utilizing the show to heal from what was not good. And all of that was going into our takes on any sports topics. And it was so more than the touchdowns or the hockey pucks. It became to so more of the existential look at things. And what was weird for us is when we weren't doing well as a partnership that day, the product was amazing. And we were in a great mood. We would listen to the air checks and be like, ugh. And I think there's something about when there's not something sacrificed there, when you're free flowing, you're not putting yourself through that, ugh. Whereas when that thing's right here, you're like, I got to get out of this. And how do I get out of it? And all of a sudden it breeds all this creativity. And so I don't know, have you guys ever dealt with that?
I don't know.
And I mean, granted, this is different because you both are here and then the person's here, but Tony and I had to talk. So it's when the other guy's allowed to talk, We had to learn the 3 second, 5 second, 9 second. Did you ever do that?
I don't think we have, but I mean, maybe there's something that exists there.
Well, and who knows where it comes. Like I said, we were a different dynamic because we were both sharing the microphone with an audience.
Yeah,
right.
We're listening and more.
Yeah,
than anything.
yeah. But that's where I learned the 3 and the 5 and the 9 is that you could talk for 3 seconds, 5 seconds, or 9 seconds. You had to stop and let the other guy come in.
Interesting.
And that was the way you had to go through it.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tony and I would always push it to 9 seconds, of course.
For sure, yeah.
But we'd be like, I think Tom Brady coming into this game, obviously it's the cold weather. You look at Foxborough Stadium, that's where he's going to be the most comfortable. Well, I agree, Pappy. Those are the things that you look at. And when you have the defense playing on that side of the ball, it's going to be great with this and this.
Oh, yeah. There's a cadence. There's a rhythm. It's like
right.
playing music.
Yeah, they call it the 3-5-9.
Yeah. That's very similar to music, actually, if you think about it.
Absolutely. I was literally just, my lady's learning music, and it's just wonderful to watch. And she's so cute when she does. I mean, she's cute when she cracks open walnuts. It doesn't matter. But the thing is, she's always cute. That's the thing that I'm trying to say. Sitting there with the 1-4-5, like today, I was like, so you're at G, C, and D. Now, basically, this is the 1, 4, and the 5. Now, your fingering goes here and this and that. And then the rhythms go here. And it's neat to see, like, as things go, like, and they form the chord, and they get the bass, and they get this and that. It's just wonderful. I think that thing's going to give. I don't know if music's ever going to stop giving, fellas.
For sure.
I don't know if art or creativity is ever going to stop giving, but I know that I won't stop giving. I don't think you guys are going to stop giving. And as long as a lot of us get on that train, we're going to be all right, Colorado Springs.
No, you're absolutely right, brother. Well, we're going to start landing this plane. Where can we find you? And then we'll wrap up with everything. This has been amazing.
I am right here. That's where you can find me. No, we are on Instagram and Facebook. Our website is acmeeventco.com. We also have Dueling Pianos Roadshow.com. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram. Keep looking up those same things. And do everything you can to like and subscribe these guys. Share it. You share it one time, you did a big favor. Hit a button once. It's just like, watch this. Ready? I did it. It's over. That's all you got to do. And they get help. And we can talk to more people. Stay tuned for Brother Luck.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, man. We should have ended like that. Thank you so much, Pappy, for coming on, man. This has been awesome.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
All right.